What's up, gang? Thanks for joining the Undiplomatic Podcast, the show with undiplomatic takes about the foreign policy scene. I'm Van Jackson here with Matt Dustin, Julia Gledhill. What's good, friends?
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
I'm sure you guys are tracking, like, Paramount Studios has basically started converting into like a right-wing streaming service. Like, they acquired the UFC at a tremendous price. They've signed deals with a bunch of like right-wing actors and filmmakers, and the guy who runs it, David Ellison, is Larry Ellison's son, who's the Oracle guy,
Right.
who's the MAGA,
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
Trump is pushing Larry Ellison to bring back the action movies of the 80s and 90s, specifically mentioning remakes of Rush Hour with Chris Tucker,
Rush Hour,
Jackie Chan, and
saw that.
Bloodsport.
Yeah.
It's like,
Bloodsport. I mean, and listen, I can't argue with either of those. I think that's beautiful. But it did get me thinking about, like, if I, were somehow, if I had the power to get the president to like to kind of force like people to do things, it's like, what would I do? I was like, deploy SEAL Team 6 to get Izzy Stradlin back in Guns N' Roses. What other like, get Kim Deal back into the Pixies?
Yes.
That's kind of where I'd be focusing the energy of the administration that I had influence.
I saw them 2 years ago in New York.
Yeah?
Yeah, I did. It was amazing.
Awesome.
It was me and a bunch of like 55-year-old men.
Yeah, that sounds right. I feel very seen by that.
I also saw Belly in DC a couple weeks ago, which is related.
Okay.
Bunch of old people as well, but
Really
it was a great show.
Also yes. Feed the Tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Big hit. Yeah. Yep. 1993. Remember
it was actually really fun.
Wait.
I got free tickets from a record store on 14th Street.
Yeah.
I just waltzed
Yeah.
in and I was like, I like this song. And he was like, do you want to go to the show tomorrow? And I said, hell yeah, I do.
What?
And I got free tickets. Yeah.
Where was it?
Gosh, what is it called? Like right by Cafe St. X, there's a record store right next to it in that basement. I'm blanking on what the store is called, but I was like, I was kind of early. I was like double booked, right? So I was going from one happy hour to another. My friends were late to the second one. So I popped in there and I started chatting with the owner of the shop. He's like, yeah, we had this Instagram raffle and no one won the tickets. Do you want these 2 tickets? So I went the next day. It was rad at 9:30. It was really fun.
Yeah. It was a good show.
Yeah, it was great.
That's great. That's great.
Dude, I don't want to throw any. I say this in love and because it's funny, but like,
prepare yourself, Julia.
There was an old Saturday Night Live skit with Eddie Murphy where he dressed up in whiteface and walked around as a social experiment as a white guy.
What are you doing? I'm paying for this newspaper.
Like,
no, just
he
take
tried to
it.
go in and get
Just
a loan from the bank as a black guy and was like turned down. And then he goes in as a white guy and they're just like giving him money out of the register. When the other black guy leaves the bank, they all look around and like then start handing money and having parties and shit.
Right.
In the black imaginary, it was like whenever black people aren't around, white people are just like getting free shit going around. Like they walk into a store and they're like, hey, you want free tickets?
Free drinks, free coffees. Honestly, it kind of happens.
Right.
I'm not gonna say a lot, but it's not like a rare occurrence.
Well,
you've
since you brought it up, there's a new Eddie Murphy
bias.
There's a new Eddie Murphy documentary on Netflix, which I just watched. It's really great.
Seen it yet, yeah.
I mean, he's interviewed throughout. Obviously, he played a major role in it, so it's it's very pro Eddie. But I mean, I'm very pro Eddie, so I was very fine. I was totally fine with that. But it's really good.
Yeah, I'll have to
check it out. He's the Dr. Dolittle guy, right? That's the only thing I remember.
Oh my god.
Yeah. No. Oh man.
I liked those movies.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Everything.
It's like not that crazy
was
even aged up, but sometimes it does come out.
No. Yeah, no. There are some key, but again, I'm gonna age you because like Delirious, like pre-Raw, like Delirious was like my hearing the Clash for me.
When I first started writing, like as a kid with a fucking typewriter, because that's how OG it was in the 80s, I was typing basically like the transcript of Eddie Murphy's stand-up. And so like Delirious and Raw, I was like 9 years old. I guess it was the early 90s, but I was sitting there just not coming up with ideas myself. I was just like writing what I heard him saying and then wanting to see it on a page. And I just kind of like did that repeatedly until I started having my own poop jokes, So,
yeah, that sounds right.
That's fun.
No, I remember like last thought on this is like the album. It wasn't Delirious. It was just called Eddie Murphy Comedian. But it was basically a lot of the stuff that was in Delirious, and I can feel like the foam Walkman headphones like on my ears. Like he said, you got to hear this, and I just was listening to this, and I was like, oh my god, people can say this.
I know the scandal of like just the foul language itself was impressing me. Yeah. Okay. And then he did the song "My Girl Wants to Party All the Time." That was actually like
Party All the Time
banger
with Rick James. Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it's a solid hit.
Okay. Yeah. All right. This is not the Eddie Murphy podcast, but
we should just a side hustle. Just every Eddie Murphy movie.
In way more somber of a pivot. The Venezuela war that just won't quit, it seems like. So we're getting closer and closer to what appears to be a regime change war, but we're already at war undeclared, in the sense that like there's been 21 unauthorized military strikes in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific, which is a new term by me. But they've killed 83 people so far. We have no idea if any of them is actually guilty of anything. The Senate has formally demanded that the Pentagon explain what the fuck. They're just getting stonewalled. So like no accountability. And then there's a little, the reasoning for doing the regime change is like choose your own adventure. So like Scott Bessent, he went on and said like, if something happens down in Venezuela, regime change, we could see oil prices go down even more. And so we would reduce inflation. So an argument about inflation as the reason to do regime change, right? And then let me pull this clip up. There's a 1-minute clip from Congresswoman.
It's the political vision to be doing this because Maduro is the head of a transnational criminal organization. Yeah. Maduro is not the legitimate president of the country. So we're not invading a sovereign country that has a free and fair elected democratic president. No, this guy is a thug, and he's good friends with Hezbollah. They are giving uranium to Hamas and to Iran and to North Korea and to Cuba and to Nicaragua.
Uranium to
It's time
Hamas.
for the United States to do what we need to do. And thank God that Trump is doing it. And I'm telling you that these people, the Venezuelans, have the largest reserves of oil in the world, more than Saudi Arabia. We're talking about this is going to be a windfall for us when it comes to fossil fuels.
Well, and again, first of all, why do I disappear on the screen every time I share a clip now? I don't know.
No, because the people like Julia and my reactions.
Clearly.
Like, we are known to have the best like
Julia hacked restream,
But no, I mean, you are right to say choose your own adventure, right? And this is why, again, it's everything is not Iraq, but this is very much like that. It's like there are so many different arguments being made for different audiences. Oil, inflation. He's part of a drug cartel. He's supporting terrorism. He's sending migrants up. He's driving.
Uranium.
The Venezuelan opposition leader is also putting out this stuff. Oh yeah, he was part of the 2020 election interference against Trump. I mean, just absolutely crazy stuff. But there are all these arguments being made to like pick your audience, choose your own adventure. Just whatever you want. It's a buffet of justifications for a really stupid war.
Yeah, what's really rich is the FTO designation. So Cartel de los Soles on Monday was designated an FTO by the United States.
Foreign terrorist organization.
And it's essentially it's like not an organization that exists, first of all, and it's kind of just a like euphemism
just like
for
Antifa.
drug trafficking by the armed forces. Yeah.
No, that's exactly right.
But
no, it's
I
just
mean,
and it's pre-Maduro, it's pre-Chavez, where people would just talk about Cartel de los Soles. It's like this is just all the corrupt generals with the suns on their uniforms. It's not an actual thing.
And I mean, how many countries have armed forces that are involved in drug trafficking, including the United
just the
States?
one, just the one Venezuela.
Fucking nuts, yeah. And then on Drop Site, Ryan Grimm had reporting or something that said that Rubio, who's both Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, told Trump directly that Maduro helped Biden steal the 2020 election. So it's not just that there are people saying this, it's that the mouse in the ear of the emperor is saying this to the emperor, you know?
Right.
Right. Yeah. Choose your own adventure for Trump. It's like, here's check all these boxes. Pick whichever one bothers you the most today. Immigration, drugs, oil. You know,
Nuts.
it's nuts. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Ironically, I think like escalating the way that we are in the region could actually bolster Maduro's grip on power in Venezuela, because you know, stoke regional solidarity by demonizing Venezuela and sort of rah-rahing for war. Especially, I mean, gosh, it feels forever ago now, but in October, when the 4 Colombians were murdered by the United States in one of those lethal strikes, one of the many, you know, almost 24 now, you had Gustavo Petro, the president, saying the strikes on Venezuela are a war on Latin America. So I think that that's also reminiscent of, you know, other interventions by the United States and actually undermining our own so-called strategic goals in Venezuela.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I would add, now it's gotten to a point where this stuff we've been kind of like very visibly, ostentatiously preparing for this, sending the biggest aircraft carrier, sending all these forces to this region, that if we don't do anything, Maduro also wins, right? Because he's the one who stared down the most powerful country in the world. So it's, which is also not a great outcome. Not a fan of Maduro, very bad. But he kind of comes out of this. So we either have a strengthened Maduro who faced down Donald Trump, or we have an intervention which leads to any number of horrible outcomes. So it's just bad foreign policy all around.
Feeling like a loser. Yeah. Well, so this, like a couple weeks ago, I spoke to Jeet here on his show, or maybe it was a crawl. I can't remember. But one of the ways to like explain this drive, if you're looking for what the excuses are, they're all over the map. Of course, that is choose your own adventure. But if you're looking for the driver, you know, one of the hypotheses that I put on the table is this primitive accumulation thesis. It's about the money, honey, the natural resources, and going after it in the most bare knuckle of ways, which is a return to something, not novel. You hear it in that like Maria Salazar clip where she punctuates this call for regime change with like, and it's going to be a windfall for us because they got them oils, and that's what the thesis is in a nutshell. But it's like, I just saw Laura Richardson, the Southcom commander, U.S. military command, Southcom, right? She was the commander under Biden. She's not anymore. Under Biden, she was making the resource control argument for securitizing the Caribbean, basically, but Venezuela specifically. So she was laying out why it's a national security imperative to get, she didn't say, let's do a regime change, because that would be, it's impolitic for Democrats to come up with those ideas. They only co-sign them. And so, she didn't propose that, but she walked all the way up to that line by being like, this is a tremendous national security priority. She checks China in the process. That's why we care about the resource control. And it's like, that is what, so it's like, it predates Trump, this sort of like resource territory fetishism. It's just that Trump is willing to bomb things that maybe we weren't willing to bomb under Biden. You know, it's important not to lose sight of that, I think.
Your point on cost, this is not the most important piece or the reason why we shouldn't go to war with Venezuela. But when you have a Gerald Ford aircraft carrier and like 7 other warships deployed into the Caribbean during a time when the United States experienced the longest government shutdown, I think ever, if not the longest one, at least since the last record was set, in the first administration, right? It's tens of millions of dollars a day, potentially. I've seen 18 million thrown out there. I haven't verified that myself, but I mean, this is when the Trump administration is refusing to provide SNAP benefits to American people who are at risk of hunger, and we're doing multi-million-dollar lethal strikes.
Yeah. I just saw an FT story about like food pantries and mutual aid, camps in the US at like almost record levels, certainly since our lifetimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, but as Paul Wolfowitz told us about Iraq floats on a sea of oil, and this war will pay for itself. And clearly that happened. And that will happen again. That's, with Venezuela, that always works.
It's crazy that we're doing another regime change war, possibly based on just total bullshit. And this time the bullshit is like they're not trying very hard and they're just saying like, look, let me just throw out some keywords: uranium, Hamas,
Well, the thing
inflation,
that will
North
help,
Korea,
I think,
China, go.
it's weird, but the one thing that does give me, I don't want to say it doesn't make me feel better, but it's like Trump is not anti-war, but he's anti-long wars, right? He clearly, believes that, you just do a spectacular strike, you send some B-2 bombers as in Iran, you do this, you strike Syria, everyone in Washington applauds you. Fareed Zakaria says this is the day you became president. And then you stop and you high five.
I'm glad we solved Venezuela. On to the next thing. So the National Security Democrats, they launched this video I'm going to play that because it's like 1 minute long, but it's at once kind of banal and charming and gross at the same time, but also important. And so like I'm having a lot of like conflicted inner takes about this, but let me just like
I'm just gonna say, like, Jason Crow, friend of the pod, wants to come on the pod. So.
Oh yeah. So I'll say mostly not friends of the pod.
I'm Senator Elissa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens. Like us, you all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
So, I mean, maybe you can see why I'm like, this is super fucking cringe, but also, and the message is like so obvious, and yet the message has weight. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts?
Well, I'm glad that Deluzio, I mean, the others like, you can refuse illegal orders. And Deluzio was the one who was like, no, you must refuse.
Yeah, it's not optional. Like,
it's not optional. This is not an option. You must refuse. And so, yeah, and Deluzio is another person I know. I'm actually, he represents the district in Western Pennsylvania that my mom grew up in. And to have a Democrat there, and he's actually a really good anti-corruption Democrat. So he's another person in that video that I like. And so he came out strongest on that. There's some others, some of the intel folks talking about illegal orders. Okay, what roles did you play possibly in like drone strikes and assassinations? Let's talk about illegal orders. That aside,
well, I think Slotkin might be my real beef. Like I have less of an issue with most of the other ones. I think.
Yeah, you said it, so that is a question I have. But yeah, just in general, it's like, yes, good, say it. Yeah, you should refuse illegal orders. But like, I also think we need to kind of say, all right, what are we talking about here? Because you've said something that should be uncontroversial. What does that look like? And I think by just kind of putting this out there and not being a bit more specific, they did open themselves some criticisms, bad faith, as most of that stuff
That was
is.
my reaction. It seems to put the onus on service members in a pretty big way, and in a way that those people have to then assume the risks of, defying an order in a really obedience culture. Like, I just don't understand how people are supposed to take that to heart. Not only because of the legal repercussions of, say, refusing an order and it ending up being lawful, but also the social consequences. I just like, how are you assuming that people have the chutzpah to then go do that? It's
And they're not
I don't know. I just don't
99% are not
understand.
lawyers anyway. You know what I mean? Like they don't know how to
Yeah.
interpret the law.
No, it's a crazy standard to set for service members to make that
Mhm.
determination. Are we talking about domestic deployment? Are we talking about the Venezuela strikes? I just I actually don't know.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, a legal order's fine, but I think that they could have been a lot more specific. I just don't understand what the
Yeah.
point of this is if it's not being very clear about what it is you're asking folks to do,
Right.
especially given that you're, asking a lot.
I think this is important when you're talking to the military, given that they are, the tip of the spear. But I would love to see a video like this to diplomats and State Department officials. Like, you don't have to. In fact, you must not sign off on approving arms sales to foreign governments that are committing war crimes.
You must not violate the Leahy law.
You must not violate the Arms Export Control Act.
Yeah.
And yet,
Yeah. God. So Elissa Slotkin, she's my former boss, by the way. So definitely not a friend of the pod. But she said that
not yet. Man.
so Trump, you couldn't see it on the video that streamed just now because y'all's faces was blocking it, but within the video was embedded Trump's tweet calling the video sedition and saying that these Democratic lawmakers need to be tried. He posted a separate tweet that said they needed to be hanged. So literally hang your political opposition, right? And so
I don't do that anymore.
Following that Trump sort of tirade thing, Elissa Slotkin said that the FBI's counterterrorism division opened an investigation into her about this. And then Pete Hegseth went on a fucking narcissistic, petty tirade against Mark Kelly, one of the senators in the video, because he's the only one, I think, who's retired military. The other ones, I think, are just former. If you're retired, you can be called, the UCMJ, Uniform Code of Military Justice, you can be called back to active duty and tried.
Right.
If you do illegal shit. Free speech is not illegal shit. Reminding military people who swore an oath to the Constitution and to, disobey unlawful orders, that's not illegal shit either. That's just reminding them about the law. Hegseth has now directed the Navy to investigate and to bring back to active duty Mark Kelly. We'll see if that goes anywhere. The thing that people missed amid all of this, I haven't seen anybody comment on it, but to me, it's it's a sign that there's something much deeper that triggered this video. Because Julia asked, was why? What the fuck? Where is this coming from? Aside from the fact that the Trump administration is breaking laws left and right and doing an illegal war on Venezuela. Separate from that, which the national security Democrats mostly don't seem to say is illegal. Elissa Slotkin was asked, do you think the Trump administration has done anything illegal that would require violating, disobeying an unlawful order? She's like, no, not yet. And it's really?
Yeah.
I think we're breaking laws left and right here.
Right.
Including with military operations.
Yeah.
So what is this? What is this in fact? And this is what the thing that people missed was she went on a podcast last week and said that she was worried about the CIA conducting domestic covert actions against U.S. citizens inside the U.S. She is such a booster, cheerleader, simp for the national security state. For her to say that suggests that she heard some shit, that she is privy to something that she can't talk about publicly, and it's raised alarms, and all of this is in response to having alarms raised. No way does she randomly warn about her old spy organization illegally targeting Americans unless she has reason to think that that's happening.
Yeah, that's odd, because I thought I also read that she said that she sort of said something ambiguous around legal gymnastics for the strikes in Venezuela, and then previously she had made a floor statement. She's like, I don't have an issue with striking Venezuela, but I think that Congress needs to authorize it. So it seems pretty sus.
Process externalizing everything onto the process. As long as the process works.
As long as all the T's are crossed, I's are dotted on this stupid war.
Yeah, exactly.
That is some Obama era shit. Yeah. The other thing that's notable here is this is kind of, to me, a sign of how serious the MAGA project is about being a counter-revolutionary thing. The whole premise of diagnosing their politics, MAGA politics, as counter-revolutionary is that they function as counter-elites, and the old elites that they're countering are enemies, therefore. And so it's not just normal reactionary politics where you do like right-wing oligarchy shit and then you dog whistle racism, but ultimately you function within like a bipartisan congressional system, right? Normal order type stuff. That's not what that's not what counter-revolution is, and that's not what this appears to be either, right? Like this is one side of the aisle being considered the op and then acting accordingly. And like, I don't know if Hill Democrats really get that. I don't think the think tankers get that at all. MAGA is a counter elite project. And that means that the old elites are actual enemies. Right. So of course they're going to get investigated and tried and possibly CIA'd, you know, which is, you know, a little bit of an imperial boomerang kind of thing for the national security state advocates. And like I had said on Twitter, like I hope this raises consciousness among the Elissa Slotkins of the world.
Yeah, which is, you know, a challenge for those of us who think, yeah, John Bolton should be arrested.
Yeah,
but like not like this. So, you know,
yeah.
Yeah.
Not like this. What do you want? Everything? Yeah. The other thing to talk about, I guess, is the Ukraine peace plan, which we haven't had an episode since the like first draft, I guess, dropped. So it's a 28-point plan, lots of like controversy. Nobody, even Russia, seems to be unhappy with it. Actually, Matt, you're good for this. What is it? Where did it come from? It seems like it's a U.S.
No, I think the best I could figure it, and there's like conflicting reporting, but as I've been able, you know, it came from, I guess, originally Witkoff speaking with what's his name? The Russian guy who's basically the head of the sovereign wealth fund in Russia. A conversation that generated, and there was like transcripts of the conversation that was generated or that was like leaked. You know, so that's great OPSEC there. You know, Witkoff. That basically the initial version was clearly something that Russia favored. It was like, here's all the stuff we want to end this war. You know, some of that stuff was a complete non-starter, I think, understandably. And again, I'm someone, as I think we all are, that would love to end this war. I mean, understanding that Ukraine is, you know, almost certainly not going to take back the territory that's been lost to Russia. But if we can get to, you know, a durable end to this war that protects Ukraine's sovereignty and democracy, we should go for it. I don't think Putin's interested still to this day in ending the war short of curtailing Ukraine's sovereignty. But that doesn't mean you don't try diplomacy. We should. So I'm not someone who's going to respond immediately to this and say, oh, this is an outrage. We shouldn't be, you know, even considering this. I think we should consider all kinds of options that stop the war. But
so maybe like an opening bid.
An opening bid, sure. And that's what we saw. So initially we saw, you know, Rubio, based on that initial proposal, was telling other senators, okay, this is just a Russian wish list. Because again, what's going on here is like there's this internal fight within the Trump administration. You've got Witkoff and Kushner doing this stuff. You've got Rubio and Vance basically trying to position each other as the, you know, who's going to inherit, you know, MAGA in 2028. Both of them are like clutching Trump's legs as tightly as they can, but they do represent, you know, seriously different poles on foreign policy. So Rubio initially said, no, this is just a Russian wish list. That's according to senators who were briefed. That came out, and then Rubio had to come out and clean that up and say, oh, no, this was something that was generated by the U.S. When I think almost certainly the first thing was more true. And then, you know, you had the Ukrainians who were not included in this proposal, the Europeans who feel cut out. And it's, you know, it's now there's been a new version where Rubio seems to have kind of filed down some things about, you know, the limits on the number of Ukrainian, the size of the Ukrainian military. But the short version is just like we're basically where we were, you know, a week, 2 weeks ago.
The trouble with Ukraine, it feels like there's no end game here. Like, what are the conditions that could resolve this peacefully is not the right word, but like amicably? Like, it seems like there isn't an outcome that Ukraine would accept that Russia would also accept. Like this, but the status quo is like hundreds of thousands of casualties for Ukraine, millions of refugees,
and for Russia,
economy shit, but Russia is insensitive to its losses. I mean, it seems like they don't care.
That is true, but I just think it's worth acknowledging. I mean, you know, thousands and thousands of young Russian men, and are being killed and maimed, like horribly. Russian family, and this will be a political thing inside Russia as well. Even though obviously, of course, Putin is less sensitive to Russia's politics and popular will, but this is this will matter.
Yeah. So but like the status quo is just so unsustainable for Ukraine. It's probably unsustainable for Russia too, but like
they can sustain it for longer.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And so where does that leave us? I mean, fuck.
I don't know. That's just it. As you said, I mean, Russia can hold out for longer than Ukraine can, especially with the U.S. pulling back on military aid. Right now the U.S. is selling arms to the Europeans, which they are in turn transferring to Ukraine, which is not the worst outcome. Europe should be stepping up and doing a lot more. I mean, in fairness, I think they have been doing quite a bit, but really taking care of their own backyard. But yeah, that's the problem. It's like there doesn't seem to be any trade space that is remotely acceptable to either, to the Ukrainians and Putin at the same time, because Putin, as far as I can see, won't be satisfied. He has not changed his goals from the start, which are to, curtail Ukraine's independence.
Yeah, no good options here. I mean, it's been just a total bloodbath and a meat grinder. And I mean, from my perspective, there's just no easy way forward. Obviously, there's no way for everyone to get what they want, but ultimately it's good that there's some kind of negotiation happening. And yeah, the territorial concessions are kind of tough. From what I understand, Ukraine still controls some part of the Donetsk, and the peace plan is asking them to concede all of it to Russia. And that sucks. That really sucks. But at the same time, Russia is what I read, open to spending quite a bit of money on rebuilding Ukraine. I mean, it's not like there aren't small concessions on the part of Russia in the current draft of the deal, even if it is really tough for Ukraine to concede those territorial borders. Yeah, I mean, I think the troop reduction piece is something that Russia's wanted for a long time, and I actually don't think that that's that big of a that big of a lift for Ukraine, particularly given their manpower issues. It's a way to make Russia more open to negotiation and finishing this deal that I actually don't think is a really big compromise on the part of the Ukrainians.
I agree that, and I also would add, like, the NATO issue. Listen, everyone basically knows Ukraine's never getting in NATO. Everyone is, so many, even the Biden administration and has known that, like, we're just kind of dangling this out there because we don't want to be seen as closing the door to NATO under pressure from Putin. So we're going to go through this weird little pageantry where we pretend like it might happen. It's unfair to the Ukrainians. It's bad for the U.S. It's bad for NATO. It's provocative. Take that off the table too. So as you said, yes, the troop reduction thing, or the limits on the size of the military, and the NATO thing, yes, get those off the table. Those are not the hills to fight on here.
No.
Yeah, I had seen a study too, maybe last year, a study that said troop end strength for Ukraine, like for a credible defense, could actually be lower than what the proposed cap is in this current plan. Like it could be like 250,000 or something like that troops. And it's like, if you can come up with an analysis that mounts a credible defense at that level, and it's below what Russian cap demands are, then like that is also a resolvable issue. And so it almost seems like it comes down to ceding territory that you currently occupy, which is some bitter fucking, that's like really horrific. Like it's one thing to give up territory you don't have because the enemy occupies it. You can like make your peace with that possibly. It's a big fucking ask to say withdraw from your own territory, dude.
Right, where your own citizens will, be forced then to endure what the citizens under occupied Ukraine have endured, which is horrible. So you will see probably, big flows of internally displaced to the Ukrainian controlled areas. But I do think one of the most important things here is, okay, it's not just the size of the military, it's what equipment, what weapons do they have? Because this, a security guarantee from Donald Trump is, worth, the paper it's written on, maybe that, maybe not even that. The question is, does Ukraine retain the ability to inflict pain on Russia if Russia breaks the agreement? That is the only guarantee that can possibly matter here.
Yeah, the Europeans and the Americans have been really ambiguous about that, right? Because this deal is saying something along it's almost as like Budapest all over again, like not security guarantees, not NATO, but like we got you kind of.
Some secret third thing.
Yeah.
Some secret third thing.
Yeah, no.
That's unexplained.
No rational government would accept that at all. Ukraine will not accept it.
Yeah.
Nor should they.
Yeah.
This fucking sucks.
And I think the Europeans also will have it's like, how hard are they going to push this? Push against the deal, because it seems like there's definitely a lot of concern across the Atlantic for, they have their reasons. But that part I don't understand at all. I don't know why we're still being ambiguous about security guarantees or security commitments. It seems like it's not just a NATO thing. It's we have to be kind of clear about what it is that we're promising to or to not to do, because I think Russia, that seems to be like one of their hard lines as well.
One last thing I wanted to bring up was this whole Marjorie Taylor Greene, MAGA, True Blue Congresswoman who's resigning now. She has been like, she is, I think, maybe like a true believer in MAGA ideology. And like, that's kind of, it seems like that's coming to the fore. Like, you can only know that in hindsight about somebody. And it seems like now that she's on her way out, maybe that's real. Like, and that problem with that is MAGA ideology is violent, exclusionary. It serves oligarchs primarily. It soaks the working class. It's racist. It's conspiratorial. I mean, pick your fucking description. And it's incoherent on top of all of that. Like, it doesn't cohere into something that could, like, I don't know, be a hegemonic project. But she believes it all the same, like almost like in that there's an idealism about her in that respect. And so her resigning is like, it feels like it's a big deal. And I have trouble reading in what way it's a big deal, even though I feel like it is, which is kind of why I wanted to table it. Cause it's like, she's in a safe Republican district, but at this point, Trump has called her a traitor, right? It's possible she was going to get primaried from the right. She's clashed with Trump over Ukraine aid, over bombing Iran, over the H-1B visa stuff. So she's
over
kind of
Epstein,
like
which is one of the biggest.
Epstein, the biggest, I think. Yeah. How did I forget to mention that? And so like, she's a mixed bag, because she had this long resignation statement, and it was a little bit like Eisenhower's, final defense industrial complex speech. I don't want to.
Interesting comparison.
I don't want to elevate.
That's actually, no. Listen, no.
It's
people should read it. I don't think that comparison is off. I mean, that's a really good one.
Because it's like this cowardly warning about how broken everything is that she was complicit in, and she intersperses some idealized things that sound very reasonable with things that are batshit crazy, which is par for the course with her. Like, she proudly stood up for workers by fighting against the Green New Deal. She thinks China's hiding under our bed and she's a xenophobe, but at the same time, she railed against what she called the military-industrial war complex. What do you do with this? I mean,
the political industrial complex. No, basically, it's like, I thought, as I read it, and again, I encourage people to read it. It's pretty interesting. Just, I was under the impression I was coming here for a revolution, to drain the swamp, to unrig the system. And the system remains rigged. The people who come here are very much part of the swamp, and I'm over it.
Totally. I mean, as one of the Trump acolytes, for her to go out with a bang like this and start saying America only instead of America first, and ragging on Republican men on Twitter and on DC in general, she's kind of throwing her hands up here. And, it honestly made me think about what's going to happen to Laura Loomer when Trump inevitably exits the political scene. What's going to happen to these people that built their whole careers around being his cheerleader? I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think, is already pretty well off. I think that she comes from a big family business where she's in her town, in her district. I don't think she's like, I think the pension thing that she waited for her pension to vest, I don't care about that. I mean, I think everybody should
who
get
gives
their retirement.
shit?
But it made me think about what's going to happen to Laura Loomer. who, has based her entire career in life around Trump. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't know what to expect from her. And I think a lot of people have been sincerely heartened by her overtures to, affordability, to the, deep rot and misogyny in all institutions, all levels of government. I think that actually is really authentic on her part. And so for her to go out in this way, I mean, I do think it's very sincere.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. By no means a hero, but like a very interesting kind of weather report on, about what is happening within the MAGA movement. We've seen this on, Israel, Palestine, on foreign policy for a while, but this is like a much broader kind of someone who is, 100% MAGA, 100% with the revolution, who is just like, this is actually pretty rotten. And I do not think this is the last we've heard of this critique.
Yeah. It's so funny. This is a weird thing to say. I want to like her. And when even when I started reading her resignation statement, I was initially seeing a couple things. I'm like, oh, is this like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington type shit? Like, is she pulling a Bulworth? You know what I mean? And then it's like, and then she goes into conspiracy theory brain, and it turns into this ethno-nationalist xenophobia shit. And it's like, God damn it. Like, you ruined it, like this is such a fucking broken brain. This is broke brain broomer shit. Yeah. And then, but like, to the point of Laura Loomer, Tucker Carlson, and Steve Bannon, and a little bit Marjorie Taylor Greene, they owe their entire livelihoods to Trump the man, basically, and like trying to build up ideology around his random, mouth farts. And what's interesting right now is like they're all opposed to AI and to the construction of data centers in U.S. communities. And like Bannon, he called AI the most dangerous technology ever, right? Bannon called it a transfer of wealth from society to the billionaires.
Did he?
Right?
Really?
Which is totally true. Bannon is organizing political action committees to fund right-wing candidates who oppose AI. And meanwhile, Trump's policy agenda is the biggest giveaway to AI billionaires, to billionaires, period, in history, but to AI especially. It's all this like national security executive order shit, just throwing money
and it always was, just not on AI. So for Bannon to wake up now to the transfer of wealth, again, good. Glad he's on board with the alarm about AI, but this is what it's always been.
He created this is like, so I don't know if he's got a broken brain or if he's just this level of cynical that like you can promote the politicians who have these agendas that you actually oppose, but you claim that they're a means to an end for you. And it's like, that don't make no fucking sense. And it's like, are you just playing one-dimensional chess and you're a fucking retard? Sorry, an idiot? Or like, are you, or like, do you really think like, or you're just like, you don't care, words don't matter, you just say whatever, but you're constantly in the thick of it. What's the convenient thing to be a political demagogue about? And that's AI, right? Maybe that's right. But what drives me crazy about this shit, because like, I'm not too invested in taking seriously Republican positioning about policy stuff. It's that like, it's the Democrats that make it possible for Bannon to be this contradiction, because Democrats were gung-ho on the AI shit. Mark Andreessen has thrown like $100 million at funding Democratic politicians to support this AI bullshit. It's Biden who led the way in the AI anti-China argument. Trump is simply carrying the torch of Biden on all this AI stuff and big tech. But like, it's that makes it possible for Bannon to try and hang AI around the neck of Democrats. And it's like, you can see the shape of how unpopular AI is right now. But Democrats who are beholden to big tech and to Wall Street can't position themselves appropriately on this issue. And it's going to be such a fucking loser to be on the wrong side of this AI thing. And it's like, we shouldn't be letting Bannon position himself this way. But in order to take the issue from Bannon, you have to oppose AI. You have to oppose construction of data centers. You know, you have to wind back the funding and deflate the bubble. And like, there's no sign that Democratic leadership is interested in that, you know?
Yeah.
All right.
Dark stuff.
The end.
Yeah.
And I mean that. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, this was fun. Thank you, guys. It's good to see you.
All right. Good to see you both.
All right.
Yeah, great to see y'all.
All right.
Glad we could do a
Next
holiday
time.
episode.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right.
Right. And cue Snoopy and the Peanuts on the way out holiday, very special holiday episode.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Peace.